Thank you, Neil. Great to be over here with you. This is a beautiful spot. Thanks for inviting me over here. I have worked on this for a long time because this is about our area of the state. I introduced the River Corridor Protection Act back in the late 1980s and through Zell Miller when we passed the Mountain Protections, when we finally passed the River Corridor Protection. And we've been a part of doing those corridors along the Altamaha River and have turned it around from when you had raw sewage and refrigerators and things dumped in from those houseboats to where it's cleaned up. My boys and I've got 4 sons, my wife and I, and we canoed from Dublin to Darien summer before last, camped down the sandbars, down the lower Oconee and down the Altamaha. If you hadn't been down there, it's a great experience. We canoed. Now my son's now a little older, so it'll take a motorboat to get them down there again. But it's a beautiful stretch of something that's very special to us. Now, how do we take care of this? As Neil knows, and if you ever come visit my office in Atlanta, I keep a map there that has the waterways of Georgia. And it is blue and red. The blue are the unimpaired waterways of Georgia, and the red are the impaired streams and waterways of Georgia. And throughout my legislative career, what I've tried to work on is how do we make those impaired streams unimpaired? It's just having the political will to do it. How do we change those areas that have things from local cities and have partnerships with the state to fix the problems that are polluting these rivers in Georgia? And then we see something like this coal-fired plant come to our area of the state after we have spent so much in resources to clean up our own rivers, to try to get sewage out, to try to clean up with communities, to try to work with farming practices and other things to clean up our rivers so that you can actually eat the fish you catch out of them. And people, they don't want to believe this, but you really cannot eat some of the fish in our own rivers in Middle Georgia. Having grown up here, whoever thought we would be facing that? Whoever thought if you were expecting a child that your wife could not eat the fish that you would catch out of this river, and that you'd have to limit what you could cook for your family? So we've got a lot to do in Georgia because we can reverse a lot of this by simply some planning and partnerships, and that's what we were proposing. And then suddenly, this crowd from Cobb Energy, if you follow the problems they've had up there and all their high-priced lawyers up there, want to come down to our part of the state and put a coal-fired plant that would do what? Make a few people a lot of money and pollute and ruin the health of our families, of our rivers, of our resources in our part of the world. And y'all, it's wrong, and we're going to have to fight it. And we can stop it with your help. Let's thank these people who have taken this by the arm. This is not something radical, y'all. This is very real to us. Now, let me tell you what's going on as far as energy here. In Georgia, we have companies that make wood pellets for energy that are burned in plants in Europe for clean energy. So we are producing, manufacturing, and exporting wood pellets for clean energy in Europe, and now we want these folks, they have these folks here, they want to import coal from Wyoming or wherever it's coming from that would pollute our air, our streams, and ruin the health of our families here in Georgia. Y'all, it's a matter of choices. It's whether we're going to have the political will to stand up and say, no, we're going to do clean energy here in Georgia, and we're going to reverse the trend so that we can get the mercury out of the air and the water here. These things can be corrected with the political will to do it. But it takes, people forget, politics is really about people. Now, yes, lately I think big money interests have dominated too much in Atlanta, and that's why you hear me fight against it a lot. But this is that great example. Look at the people promoting this plant and the problems they've had legally and what they tried to do with Cobb Energy. And look at the attorneys that have represented them to try to get them through that. And now they want to come to our neck of the woods because they've gotten run out of Cobb County. And they want to come down to Middle Georgia and think we'd say, oh, for jobs, for economic development. We'll do anything, even pollute our rivers, and we're in the help of our families. Well, we're for jobs, but let's have jobs that do wood pellets. You know, riding through here, we're in the middle of the wood basket of Georgia, here in Middle Georgia. So why aren't we promoting wood pellets, wood energy, biomass? Now, these same EMCs, now that the consciousness has been raised on this, are backing off. And now you hear several of the other EMCs saying, why don't we look at biomass electricity? It's because people like you care. People like you know this is wrong. People like you know there are alternatives, but y'all, we have got to get the word spread wider and louder about this. And it's going to take everyone's here's help to do it. Work with these great people who have taken this on. I have an interest, we're covering this a lot in our newspaper in Dublin, because originally the permit said they're going to take the water from the old ponds from the chalk mines. So we're not going to really affect the water levels at all in your area. But then when you check the final permits put in, that's not even on there. So they're going to take the water out of the Ogeechee and our groundwater to burn coal, to pollute those same rivers that would affect our health and welfare of our families and our wildlife. Y'all, we just can't let it happen. We just cannot let it happen. So to fight this, we do need to file the petitions. We do need to write the letters to editors. We need to let them know that reasonable folks are saying we're not going to do this. There are alternatives to this for jobs. There are alternatives for energy. There are alternatives for a lot of other things than this. And yes, we want the jobs, but let's have jobs that bring in factories that make wood pellets. Yes, we want the jobs, but let's burn something that is clean, that doesn't have the side effects that this has on our fish and our wildlife and our families and our children. Y'all, we really are at a critical time, which is why I'm over here, because I believe in this so strongly. But here I've worked for 27 years to try to turn that map in my office from more red to more blue. And here, right here, in our backyard, in our front yard, they want to come in that would reverse everything we've worked so hard for years to do. And y'all, we can't let it happen. The pattern of things that have reflected this are so strong, we need your help to change that. Look at the water districts that are drawn. They did, for years, Pierre Howard was in the Senate, I was in the House. We did the beginning of doing the study for water by water basin. And we heard about water planning, and suddenly, right before the bill got introduced, it changed to political boundaries so that you inherently put conflicts in water planning in our state. That needs to be changed as well, and let's put back water districts by where water actually is and goes, and then you can plan things like mercury. You can plan things like what's being affected in your water by putting the districts like they should. You know, I'll close with this before I make one last appeal to you. They need your help in manpower, woman power, children power. They need your help financially. They need your help to protect this great river and our resources through here. But I'll remind you of something that I heard some years ago. My parents went to the University of Georgia right after World War II, and they met in a class by this young professor named Keynote. And they said, I've quoted him frequently say that Georgia's water is more important and valuable than Louisiana's oil because it is a replenishable resource. So how do we protect this great thing of value here? Not by allowing a few big money folks out of Cobb Energy to come down here and pollute it. It's by recognizing what is valuable, recognizing what that could do. Think of what that was clean and what would be the opportunity for our families and growth. That is what is special about us. That's what keeps its value, by having that clean, replenishable resource that is ours. That is the Georgia we love. That is the Georgia we want to save. This is the Georgia that we're willing to fight for. Thank you for being here. Good thank you.
Please, another hand for Representative Dubose Porter.